Good morning, everybody. Toast to you and all you do. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. It's starting to look like, November here in December. It's starting to get cold. It might even snow today. Hopefully we get some snow. We're in a drought. Really bad, actually. So hopefully we get a lot of snow. Anyways, we are doing our introspective journey. We are on day, I believe, 39. And we are just chugging right along. And we're coming to the end of this. Like, we've reached past the halfway point. We're coming towards the end. And like I said, the goal is not to do every single question. I mean, if you do, that's amazing. But the goal is to just spend some time thinking about these things. Some questions are going to resonate more than others. Some are going to be like scary, and I don't want to think about that right now, and maybe just put that on hold until later. But really, the goal is just to spend this time during this dark season with yourself and with who you are, and learning and growing and just connecting with yourself. So like I said, I think it's day 39. But anyways, the question today is, what am I really scared of? So when we start to talk about fear, there are some fears, my hair's going crazy. There are some fears that are, we'll say, literal. So we have, you're scared of spiders, you're scared of snakes. My sister is terrified of snakes. And so I have a really funny video. I think I put it on Instagram, but it's her running from a snake. It was so funny. Like, the snake was eating, and that's how we knew it was there. It like got the bunny, and we were like, oh my gosh, there's a snake right here. And before I could even finish those words, like, oh, look, the snake she was through her house to the back door, running. It was hilarious. She didn't think it was very funny. She was terrified. But so we have fears like that. For a really long time, like, I was necrophobic, to the point, like, even like a dead mouse, like, wouldn't be able to enter that space. I would drive around blocks in order to avoid graveyards. And a big part of that was not my fear. Everybody was like, oh, you're scared of dying. You're scared of dying. I was like, I'm not really scared of dying. But it was actually the energy of the space was too much for me to handle. And as a small child being exposed to it, I was just thinking about my first experience in a graveyard, and it was terrifying. We're not even going to go there. It's not a very good parenting moment, but not for me, but for my parents. Anyways, so the energy of the graveyard was what was overwhelming for me. And then my brain as a little kid could not say, oh, it's the energy, it's the feeling, it's the energy, not the graveyard. And so now as an adult, I can go into a graveyard, I actually enjoy the energy and can be at peace with that energy. I find it reviving and really energetic. So that's for another video. We'll talk about graveyards and death and all of that stuff. Anyway, but for a really long time, I had this really irrational fear to where, like, seriously, I would drive around blocks and avoid roads and, like, certain places because it was a graveyard. And it took really thinking about what am I scared of? Why am I scared of this? And it actually took being like, okay, I have to conquer this fear. I have to just go into a graveyard. I went to Louisiana, and we were in New Orleans, and they have all of those beautiful graveyards. And I was like, I can't come to this city with all of these beautiful graveyards and not go to one. So we went to one. I didn't go in. I walked the fence line perimeter. There's a picture of me standing on the other side of the fence, and I'm like pointing at a grave. And I'm like, look, I'm really close to this grave. And just starting with like small steps like that. So when we have like literal fears, those are things that, through reprogramming, or I don't know another word for that, but through reprogramming, you can reprogram yourself to not have those fears. People who are scared of spiders can slowly put themselves around spiders and overcome those fears. So that's one category of fears. Those ones, some of them really don't matter. If you're scared of spiders, then so be it. You're scared of spiders. Just try not to kill them. They're not doing anything to you. I love spiders, so I'm like, I have a soft spot. Please don't kill the spiders. Anyway, so I was just thinking of a funny story of a very good friend of mine, and we rescued a tarantula from another friend whose cat was harassing their tarantula. So I was like, well, I'll take your tarantula. So we all drove down to Colorado Springs. I have my very good friend in the car who is incredibly arachnophobic. And we just didn't tell her this is what we were doing. So we like distracted her. We put the terrarium in the car. We covered it with a towel, like it's all safe and secure. And we're driving home, and we're almost home, and she's looking for something in the car. I don't even remember what she was looking for. I was driving. She's looking all over, and she climbs, like leans her body over the back seat to climb into the back seat, and she's like moving shit around. Moving stuff around, and I'm like, we're all like, hey, be careful. Be careful. So she's climbing over the seat, and she reaches over to grab the blanket that we have covering the terrarium. And I'm like, don't do that. Just leave that stuff alone. And she's like, why? And somebody else is like, because there's a tarantula in there. And I've never seen somebody move so fast. She's all the way in the back. She was between the two front seats, like where the console is. Like, oh my God, what is wrong with you guys? It was so funny. But slowly, but she's kind of overcome it, so it's not so crazy where she runs to the other side of the house. She can at least like ask her husband to put it in a cup and let it outside, or attack the cat. You send the cat on it, but she doesn't run through the house. Anyways, so we have these fears. They are things that can be overcome. They are things that you can work on and kind of overcome in that way. And then we have another category of fears, and these are emotional fears. These are like deep inner fears that are typically based off of some kind of self-preservation and normally come from our childhood or from some experience in our lifetime that affected us in a way where we feel like now we have to protect ourselves, and this is labeled as a fear. A really odd, like a clear bam one is like fear of abandonment. There are many people who have a fear of abandonment for one reason or another, and you make choices every day throughout your life, and they are based off of this: I'm scared that someone's going to leave me, or I'm going to be left all alone, or whatever it may be. I was watching Shameless on Netflix, and we were watching the last season, and the abandonment issues that the whole family have really come into light because everybody's really dealing with it. And it's just like one of those like, ooh, wow, like they are so scared because, they don't have that security. Another one is you're always worried that for me, I'm always worried the other shoe's going to drop. Like, and then everything is going to crash and burn, and we'll have to clean up all of the pieces. So I'm always preparing for that shoe to fall when it's probably not going to fall. I mean, maybe. But, okay, see? But we all have these things that we hold on to, and we, are scared of happening again. So we make changes. Now, some of them are, you are making yourself safer. And some of them can become destructive because we put up walls, or we put up guards, and we can take it to a place because, like we've been talking about through many of the videos, when you relive that moment in your brain over and over and over again, and then you release all of those stress hormones and you put your brain in that flight or fight kind of place, and then you're scared, like, okay, I have to do these things to protect myself. So it can go to the extreme of people who are like agoraphobic and cannot go out in public and see other people. And, it doesn't, then the opposite side, you don't have to go that extreme, but you will make small choices throughout the day based off of that. Now, like I said, sometimes these are good things. We look behind us when we're walking in the dark, or we carry our keys in our hand just to be safe, or when we get that hinky feeling from someone, we say, I probably shouldn't be around this person. And we trust that intuition. And so some of those things are good. And we need those self-preservation. We need that protection. We need to take care of ourselves. Oh, the camera's moving. And so those are good. And Then we have the ones that are more extreme. Like I said, it can get to the point where you're scared to leave your house or you don't want to go to certain places. I know a lot of people who have done jail time when they come out of jail, places like King Soopers or Walmart or whatever that has that kind of environment can be a terrifying experience for them. And that's something that most people are like, I don't understand. Why would that be so overwhelming? But that can be terrifying. And so you have, so then they change their life. They don't go to those stores, or they send somebody else, or like, I'm only going to go to whatever, or, and they have to change what they're doing. And so you go through your day and you make these small adjustments. Now, when you start to think about this, what am I scared of? And then you start to think of the things that you're doing in order to compensate for that fear. How much of your life are you adjusting in order to not be scared? How much are you changing from your ideal self to this person who is scared and, has trouble making these choices? And you'll find through a lot of the questions that they'll come back to this fear, this place of, I'm making these choices in order to preserve myself because I'm scared that something is going to repeat, or whatever it may be. And when we begin to identify these, then we can begin to heal from them. And so this is one of those things that I really do recommend you go see a therapist, you go see a counselor, you go see a professional, you talk to somebody, talk to your clergy, talk to someone who can offer you help in order to deal with these feelings. Because when we're dealing with abandonment or fear of being abused, there's just all of these really deep-seated fears. It's really cold, so my brain is only going to the one example. They're not something that you're just going to be like, okay, I have abandonment issues, so tomorrow I'm going to stop living that way. It doesn't work that way. You have created an entire life based off of these self-preservation, these coping mechanisms in order to help you heal. And sometimes they can be really destructive. You see a lot of people who were abused sexually as children who grow up to then be sex addicts. And in their fear of dealing and coping and fear that they dealt with as a child in those moments, their brain was like, okay, this is so scary. I don't know how to deal with it. I'm just going to go with it. And I guess this is normal. And so then it carries on for the rest of their life. It doesn't have to. If they get help and they get counseling and they do these things. But again, these are not small, I'm scared of spiders kind of things. These are deep-seated emotional hurts and traumas that have to be dealt with. So I really do encourage you to go out and talk to somebody else. If you're not comfortable talking to someone else about it yet, start it in a journal. Write it all down. Write down what happened and how you felt and how you feel now, and just start getting those feelings out and talking about it. There's a great video, I know I've referenced it again before, but she talks about talking to yourself in the mirror. And this is one of those things, if you're not comfortable going out and talking to other people, because we have a social norm to shame the victim. And in that, especially when something happens to you as a child, it's hard to not because you spent your whole life pretty much taking responsibility for something that wasn't your responsibility. So as a grown-up, it becomes hard to process that and deal with that and say out loud, hey, this isn't my fault. I didn't do anything. I was a victim, and here's how I was a victim. These are the things that happened to me. And just saying that aloud into a mirror, if you can't say it to another person, can really be healing. It can be a great place. Prayer is another great place. If you really are uncomfortable saying the words aloud to another person, prayer, say it in prayer. The divine already know what happened to you. You just have to reach out and say, hey, this is, here is what happened. And this is what I'm having trouble moving forward with. I can remember being 11 and my parents were fighting, and it was a really bad situation, and I went outside and I was sitting on the roof And I just started praying, and I prayed to Diana and the moon, and it was probably one of the most healing moments I've ever had. Just in having that prayer, like, here's where I'm at, like, this is what's happening, and I just need some support. And feeling that support from the divine can be very healing. And so that is one of the ways, if you can't talk to a counselor about it, that's where you can start. But really, if you feel like you can't talk to a counselor because it's embarrassing or because it's something on you or you don't want to say those words out loud, it really shows that you need that healing. You need to go have those conversations. You need to seek that help. And it doesn't have to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist. You know, it can be a counselor. It can be a clergy. It can be somebody, just somebody to talk to. I have random people at the grocery store line. I just have this gift. And I have random people in the grocery store line tell me their stories and talk to me and tell me these like deep traumatizing moments in their life. And they just need to get it off their chest and say it out loud to somebody else who can hear them. And they need somebody to just say, wow, that's really shitty, I'm sorry. And give them a hug or just listen. Most people just need you to listen. So if somebody just starts telling you their life story, just listen. It'll be a funny story to tell somebody later. You're like, oh my goodness, this lady on the bus told me the most crazy thing. But maybe you should just tell a stranger. You know, it really doesn't matter who you talk to, but chances are you need to talk to somebody, and start by talking to just whoever you can talk to. And begin to process those fears and deal with that and build healthy coping mechanisms. Like I said, it's one thing to be able to recognize, hey, this person's kind of, you know, they remind me of this person that hurt me before. They have these same kind of traits. They have the same kind of behavior. I'm probably not going to be friends with them. And that's fine. Like that is 100% okay. That's you trusting your intuition and saying, I don't know about this person. But it's a whole nother thing to never go out and make friends because you're just so nervous that everybody's going to turn out like that. So you see, there's a healthy mechanism and there's an unhealthy mechanism. And you just kind of have to find your balance so that you can live without that fear. So I didn't think this video was going to be this long. So the challenge for you today is to think about, what are you truly scared of? And start making that list. Start thinking about it. Start just processing those thoughts and seeing what comes up. And if it's something little, you know, if it's something big, find someone to talk to so that you can move forward. And like I said, even if it's just yourself in the mirror, to say those things out loud, that's amazing. If you feel like you have no one else to talk to, you can reach out to me and I'll be an ear to listen. And sometimes, like I said, a lot of times that's all we need. But don't be scared of the things that you're like, don't be fearful to look into the things that you're scared of. It can be overwhelming and you might need someone to hold your hand, but it's something that you can definitely do, and it will make dramatic changes in how you feel as a person and your overall emotional well-being. So many blessings to you. I know this is a challenging question. I mean, it sounds so easy. You're like, what are you scared of? Most people are like snakes, spiders, whatever, little bugs. And then, but really dig deeper. Don't just stop there. And try to find some space for healing. So many blessings to you. I hope you have a fantastic day.